Today, in part 2 of my overview of the Kiloview E2 and D300, we're going to jump into the UI, walk through some of the features for encoding, such as with SRT and RTMP, and then the function of the decoder. Let's get started. Okay, this is the Kiloview E2 H264 encoder, and there's a default password and some settings that you initially get from Kiloview and that you can go through to set up the encoder as well as the decoder. So I have two interfaces here. I have the E2 and I have the D300, which I showed in the unboxing. So in the E2, they have a very kind of straightforward, I would say, interface. Lots of information, as you can tell. There's a main stream for H264 streaming. You can have multiple streams. And then there's a H264 substream. Now, some would ask, why would you have a substream and a primary stream? The primary stream might be that I'm sending an SRT, and we'll start that here in a moment. And it might be that I'm also sending another stream via HLS at one particular set of codec settings, in this case 1920 by 1080. The substream might be set at like 1280 by 720, right, and have a lower bit rate. And this also helps in the CPU utilization and some various configuration settings. Now I am sending a video from my Sony camera, and you'll see here in the preview. So once you connect into the encoder via the HDMI input, you'll see that it's actually, I'm just taking a picture of it on a wall here, but in a picture. And so that's being sent now into the encoder. In the encoder, there's a lot of information. I'm not going to go through everything here, but I would say that, you know, just the little bit of time that I've spent in testing with it, there is a lot packed on this encoder. So when I said there's a lot packed in this little box, I actually really meant there's a lot packed in that little box. We'll go ahead and start an SRT stream just to show a quick example here, and then I'll show another example here of the video coming off the encoder. So you notice that there's an SRT stream that I've set up. I'm going to go ahead and start that one here in just a second. On the D300, you'll see here that I've actually set a receiving stream from the encoder to the decoder. Now this is on a local network in this initial configuration. I'll go ahead and start the stream, and you notice on here it's going to go from blue to green and pretty quick, and it's going to a local port. Now in SRT in streaming, we generally go by either the IP address. If it's on a local network, that would be the IP address and the port number. If you're going over from the encoder, let's say on a different network outside with another network, you would want to have the public IP address on the decoder side, and again assign the port number. Now in this example, I'm using port 5003, and in that port number, I would usually recommend go to a higher port number just to have a higher. In SRT's world, you can go up to port 10,000, port 11 or 12,000. You can even go up from there and have a specific port that's unique to that. And I'll go in here and just show another interesting example of SRT that has been added recently is we also can add a stream ID. So I can give unique ID information when I'm setting that stream. And you'll see in the source settings here for the decoder, there's a lot of information, again, that's contained in here. We can set our latency to 125 milliseconds. This decoder is set up as a listener, and the encoder is set up as what we call a caller. Now, I'm on a Mac, so you'll see that it's pulling some information right now, and you won't see any video. If you're on a Windows system, what I discovered is on the Windows, you can see the inbound video coming in to preview what you see and what the output would be going out. And when I'm outputting the video, it would be going over HDMI, and you can also select to turn on SDI. So in the decoder, you could actually have both or just one source that's taking the video and you're going into your production. There are some elements here on audio. You can set some settings. On the decoder, it is set up to take multiple inbound streams. So I could literally have 16, or I believe is the number, maybe a little bit less than that you can have, and you would have multiple streams coming in, and that would be carrying through into the unit and then going out in one of the outputs. Additionally, people would ask, okay, well, is there, what does the video look like? Well, let's go ahead and take a look here. I've started a YouTube stream. So actually I have two streams going. Here's the SRT and here is the YouTube stream. I'm going to jump over to YouTube, and you'll notice here on YouTube that I'm actually receiving the same video. We'll go back here just for a moment, that we had on this snapshot of this picture of what the encoder is seeing. And on the YouTube stream, I'm actually sending a live feed. So I'm actually doing two different streams off the E2 encoder. It's quite fascinating to me because you're able to do this and be able to send that information. Now, obviously, it's giving me some information about the audio bit rate is lower than the recommended. And that's just because in this test, I haven't really defined all of the audio settings that you normally would do. Somebody would ask, like, could you do 2 different streams? Yes, you could probably do 3 streams. What you want to watch for is your CPU utilization. Obviously, you see the CPU is kind of changing every so often here. But what you could do is actually in a production, if you had a live stream you were doing and you wanted to send the client, like an example, a preview or seeing what's coming on the production or a live stream, you could send the SRT stream to backhaul the video to your remote production team. You could provide the client the YouTube link just so they could see actually what's going on. So the encoder would give you the capability to send 2 different streams in this example. So this is just a snapshot of kind of the interface. Again, there's NDI, lots of information here, and all sorts of just things you can kind of dive into. Very impressed with that. On the D300, you have several that you can do. You can add an overlay. You can add some additional information. So if you want to have an overlay that you put on the output, you can do those. It supports that. There's a mix control that you can actually when you do output from the unit, and so you can control a little bit of some audio settings, which is actually quite interesting. You can add a border and you can do some other stuff. So lots of stuff here, guys. Pretty impressive. If you have any questions, comments, let me know. Be happy to answer. If I missed anything, let me know. Again, happy to address that as well. Okay. So this is bonus content I wanted to share with everybody. A test I recently ran was to take the Kiloview E2 encoder and send a test stream via SRT back to a decoder. Now in this example, what you see here is actually a video monitor at another location receiving the signal from the E2 encoder inside a car. The signal or video signal is being received from a iPhone 11 Pro. And so it's kind of a rough example, but somebody might say, well, why would you do this? Well, there are requirements in some instances in terms of production to now be able to take encoders and live stream from a vehicle. And you've seen some shows and things that's done inside the vehicle, but as part of the production, sending a live stream from a vehicle also gives you the capability to send a live stream back into your remote headquarters or HQ, or send a stream from the encoder, sending SRT. In addition to that, doing the RTMP stream to YouTube, as I mentioned, and setting that so that the production team could see a preview of what's coming from the vehicle. Now, this is an extreme example. There's no audio in this video, but I wanted to see what the capabilities were. Could this be done relating to another effort I was testing on? And absolutely. So the connection, so we'll ask, well, what was the network connection? The network connection was actually done via a LTE modem or hotspot, 4G, and I was driving around. This is a Verizon network setup. So it actually worked, and it worked fairly well. I didn't see any video breakup, and so this video is kind of just an example of, could you do that with an encoder? And we did. So we gave it a shot and wanted to share this little bonus content video. If you have any questions, again, please leave your comments, let me know, and don't forget to hit subscribe and share.